Hey everyone. My name is Koter, as probably already said. So the name of the game is Dependency Management today, and yeah. So actually, the idea for this presentation came up from the passage of time. So kind of sort of midlife crisis, you could say. Um, so it's been already a couple of years that I've started working with the wonderful people at LeanCode, and yeah, I've learned a lot of stuff, and my I still cannot make my screen not turn itself off during a presentation. So yeah, that's one new thing to learn. Um, so yeah, I'm a super like avid provider user for dependency management. And as time goes on, it's actually starting to get tempting and even more tempting to, well, take a peek at what the other solutions are. So yeah, because the longer you use something, the more you learn about it, and you know its strengths and its weaknesses. So yeah, I've got that with Provider, and when something works, you usually just don't notice it. So you take it as kind of a given, and well, you on the other hand, you start noticing all the things that are actually problematic. So all its shortcomings. And yeah, and when you've got an enticing Riverpod tutorial to get you rolling, then I guess it gets your heart pumping, and you're getting like kind of impatient to be able to use it somewhere else. So today, what I'd like to discuss is kind of how to choose like an appropriate solution for you. Well, we probably won't be able to have an answer to this question because nothing is ever so simple. But yeah, also, wow, this is going to be probably the third today, actually third and fourth. I'm going to have another package for you. So yeah, I actually kind of got fed up with, well, with some issues with Provider, but I still liked its simplicity and, well, kind of created a little prototype package. I'm not gonna like probably encourage you to use it as much because it's an alpha version, but we'll see later. So let's get on with it. So this is well, actually, why dependency management is an important choice, because I started talking about it like it's like everyone just is like on board with it, but maybe it's not an important thing to you. So I'm gonna make it important. So look at it. Look at this. What is this? So this is some ice cubes joined by I don't know, like string cheese or something like that. Kind of like pizza, but it's actually your application. So the blue things, the ice cubes, are all your subsystems or your components. So stuff like HTTP clients, stuff like locality manager, things like that. And they all need to be glued together. They need to have their dependencies provided to them. So things like your state manager will probably need to know about your app's localization to display a toast or something like that. Yeah, and it needs to be provided to it. So instead of making it giant spaghetti, it's nice to use a proper dependency manager that can handle most of the things for you. And once you commit to a dependency manager, like just a simple service locator or like an entirely self-sufficient dependency injector, it's gonna well, it's gonna be an important decision, because you're for a given project, you're yeah, you're bound to it, because the longer you write, it's gonna start appearing in your entire code base, and yeah, you're not going to be able to replace it as easily. So to put this, well, to put this dilemma into a serious question, so let's assume we are bootstrapping a new Flutter app in like 5 minutes, in a day or something like that. and this is a decision you have to make. So like which dependency manager, dependency injection package or a service locator is right for me. So under this question is actually kind of a lot of concerns to cover, because under this question hides something like how do I know that this specific thing, like this specific package, doesn't have any traps that I don't know about? What if I used some other, like, I don't know, what if I used some GetIt instead of Riverpod? Would I be more productive or would I be less? Probably everybody would say it depends, or maybe like someone would try to market their package to say it's the best. You just don't know. There are other things, like you should also think about the people that will be working with it. So it's not just you; it's also your team. It's also the future team. If you if you swap the code, like if you hand over the code base to someone else, and also it's quite easy to get just onto the hype train and try out another package that's just trending on the social media. So so this is everything that's actually hiding under this under this seemingly kind of innocent question. And so I have all the answers you need to this question. You've actually come here for me to tell you. So let me tell you. I didn't know the answer either. So I was wondering about it, and one afternoon when I was just bored browsing my phone, I noticed that next to our office is a place called DI Factory. And little did I know, they held all the answers. So I went there, and they produced a brand new DI thing for me. So I don't know what they actually do. I think something related to filmmaking or sound design or something like that. Sorry, I browsed their website and I kind of couldn't figure out really. So wait, no, that's. I don't mean to diss them, okay? It just was hard for me. I'm not the smartest guy. So back to the presentation, because we're kind of strapped for time, and I've got like 70 slides or something like that, so we got to keep going. To make it easy for us, I've narrowed the choice to about 4 packages. Sorry, did you keep hearing my thing? Because I was keeping my the mic too close to me. Well, okay, now it's gonna be better probably. So I've narrowed the choice to probably top 4 popular packages on pub. I'm not sure if they are top 4. Maybe there's something there's something more popular, but that's what I heard last time. Sorry, so I should say their names. So provider. So we're going to talk about provider, about GetIt, about Riverpod, and about GetX. So a lot of that is going to be kind of my subjective opinions about the packages, because we've only got 20 minutes, and it's not enough to have a full deep dive. It's actually it would probably take at least an hour for every single package to talk about its strengths and weaknesses. So instead, let's take a glance at them and just look what they're about. But first, before we dive into them, I'd like to go back to the basics and actually look what's the essence of of a service locator, of this whole idea about dependency management. So a service locator, I like to think about this as a box. It's just a pretty simple box that you can pull out things from, and you magically get to your hand whatever you need. So since this is a service locator, you get services. So things like app localization and stuff. But for something to be present in the box, first you'd have to put something in there. So So that's that's my entire concept of service locator in my head. It's just a box that you can put things in and pull things out. So yeah, so let's go to provider. There's the link, and I know you love copying stuff from the presentation into your browser. So yeah, there was a link, and yeah, and provider, like it's probably like a lot of you had, like probably most of you had to do with it. It's super straightforward. It's like it's a thing that blends super well with Flutter. Well, it's made for just for Flutter as an enhancement of inherited widget, and it supports all its observability patterns, the change notifiers, value notifiers, listenables, even streams. So you can easily react to changes in your data. So it can be kind of mistaken as a state manager, because that's a lot of what state managers do as well. And yeah, so you just like plonk a provider into a widget, and suddenly you can read all the values in the tree below. So it's like super simple. But what's not so great is the registration order. So you have to always be aware of how your services are registered, because you cannot have the dependencies in wrong order, because everything's gonna blow up. Because it just it doesn't work kind of that way. And the other thing is kind of a bigger thing that we found out in one project after like a year of development. It turns out, and this is a side note, it's a story. So we are using provider, about a year passed, and it turns out we suddenly get a Stack Overflow on iOS when we try to hot reload. And it turns out that widget 3 depth in Flutter is limited. This is not something that's about provider. It's just that our tons and tons of services that we registered in the tree contributed to the widget 3 just growing into thousands, about, I don't know, at the time we checked, it was 1,800 widgets. And this is, and code in Flutter actually during hot reload traverses the tree recursively. And yeah, and this is, this is a recipe for a Stack Overflow. Yeah, there's an issue for that. There seems to be some work going on. So let's just let it cook until it's resolved. So this is actually a side note about pitfalls. So pitfalls are not, it's just that I encountered the widget depth, like widget 3 depth limit, because I was using provider quite a lot. And like this is a major thing, because it kind of interrupts your workflow, because you can't really hot reload your app, and like changing margins by 2 pixels make you hot restart everything, and you have to wait like 30 seconds, especially if you have to like enter a super deep like element in your app to just check the change. So that's a major thing. But it doesn't happen just in provider. Like every single solution has them. It's just that you haven't encountered them yet. Probably someone else has, but maybe not everyone shares about this. But it's not the end of the world. Like the project is still healthy and everything's fine. So yeah, that's the end of the side note. So let's go on to GetIt. GetIt is more similar to a traditional service locator. And by that I mean like it's a box. You just like register stuff in it, and you pull things out as well. And what's nice, it also supports lazy initialization, which gets rid of the provider limitation of having to register dependencies in a specific order, because when things are initialized lazily, they can resolve in their own time, in their own order, and things just work out. And it's also got some nice features of asynchronous initialization. So you can just initialize your like services, like I don't know, like kind of probably like storage or stuff like that that needs some initial setup and communication with the native side. So yeah, so you can do this before the app starts. But on the other hand, GetIt, well, has pure Dart. Well, it's actually written purely in Dart. You don't have to use Flutter for it, and yeah, it's got a lot of like this specific things that don't integrate with Flutter. So it's got a huge, you can think of it as a huge container that's above your entire app, and everything communicates with it. And yeah, and everything has access to everywhere. So you just got to be careful to not mix things up, because everything can access everything. What's nice is that GetIt has like a supporting package injectable, which is actually the only probably DI solution here. You can just plunk down annotations for all your services, and the package will take care of generating code for your entire code base. So you don't have to call register manually, and which would be like an entire wall of text, and you can just call a single function. So that's that. Now on to GetX. So GetX is actually like it's an awesome framework. It's got a lot of quality of life features, but it's like spans the entire Flutter architecture here. So, but it's also modular. Unlike most people think that it's bloated, you can use like its submodules on their own. For example, it's service locator, but there's not really much to talk about because it's very similar to GetIt. It looks, not to dismiss it, but it looks like it just got a couple of methods renamed, and that's about it. So unless you're using GetX as a framework, then probably it would be nice to, well, it's up to you, but it would probably be just enough to stick with GetIt. So another side note, because we touched upon frameworks, and my experience with frameworks is that they are great. They do most of your stuff, most of the stuff for you. You can get most of your app just done super fast, but then it turns out that their abstractions don't always match your requirements, and then you have to do some hardcore gymnastics around them to just hack around the feature you need. So there we go, and that's a chart based on based on no actual scientific source, but but my impression. And on the other side of the wall, we've got regular libraries. So here, if you use something much more low level, you have much more control because they don't impose any specific abstraction on you, but in turn, you have to do everything yourself. What a framework does takes only a couple of minutes. It takes you here a week. But on the other hand, you can just use them when everything's done, and you just need this specific critical requirements done. You just don't have to do this hoop jumping or whatever that was. Yeah. So on the other side of the spectrum, we've got this kind of chart. So yeah. That's the end of the side note. Let's go back to the list. It's the last one on our quick review. It's Riverpod. So this one I've actually got the least experience with, which is a shame because I would like really to try it out. It's a spiritual successor to Provider, and it actually provides on that. Yeah, something like that. So it overcomes its a lot of like original providers shortcomings with its own providers that are completely detached from from Flutter and can be used for even for server apps and terminal apps like GetIt. But it builds an entire framework on top of that. You can use like the basic stuff, but just the framework is super convenient, and you get caching and asynchronous utilities on top of that. So, this is all nice, but in turn you get a lot of like different conventions that you have to get used to. And there's code generation, which is kind of also controversial, well, until macros are in the language. So yeah, and there's a lot of implicit dependency management. So you don't really ever know when things are created, which is really good because you don't have to care about it. But but if things blow up, then well, it's harder to debug. So yeah. So there's another thing, kind of, yeah, my little prototype. Well, out of kind of disappointment that there aren't really too many kind of low-level packages like Provider and GetIt, and they don't really fulfill my needs. I thought I would just mash up those two packages and well, see if I can create something that well. That just fulfills my needs. So there's SpyGlass. It's a complete alpha version, so I'm not really encouraging you to use it right now. There's going to be a link later. It's kind of functional, but it's not really tested. It hasn't been in a single app, so yeah, stuff like that. But what's nice is it's got something I worked out during the years of working with Provider. It's got dependency scopes. Well, it's not a new concept, but it's implemented in a specific way. And it's also got some cool asynchronous utilities. So what I like worked out over the years is that I like to think about my apps as as split into three distinct logical scopes. So first one is the global scope. It's something that you where you register stuff that's completely completely even unrelated to Flutter. Like you initialize your it is kind of related to Flutter. It's you initialize your native plugins. You create things that don't require Flutter, like HTTP clients or stuff like that. The other thing is the app scope. So this is where you've already run your app and you've got like things that are common to all your screens, like your specific API clients and stuff like that requires like localization, stuff like that, stuff under the material app, you could say. And there's the third thing, the screen scope. So every screen you probably for every screen you probably use some state management thing like block, like Mobex, like, well, it's not actually state management Mobex, but yeah. But Mobex, stuff like that, like a view controller for that. And this is the place to put it. So yeah, so I just find like it's nothing, it's just something that comes from my experience that works nice. And yeah, and there's one other case, the form scope, I would call it. So sometimes you need to group a couple of screens into like a single thing. So, for example, forms that have multiple steps. And here, it's kind of cumbersome always to implement because of the way that Flutter navigation works. So you usually like implement it using some nested navigation, and it's really like inconvenient and stuff. Yeah, this is like the kind of gray area where nothing really works seriously. Yeah, Riverpod is good at it because it just gets rid of the idea that you have to have any scopes. You can just depend on stuff and forget about it. So it's really nice. So yeah, so how this works? Like, let's just take the basic idea of the service locator, the box. And let's slap a label on it, call it deps, because like dependencies, because calling something a box is kind of like ambiguous, because you've got a lot of boxes in programming. So and what if you created it like that, so it can actually point to some other boxes. So if it doesn't have what you need inside of it, you can point to something else. And this creates like a tree-like hierarchy. Could be a graph actually, but yeah, it's nice to like match it to the scopes approach and just like insert them like that in your tree. So there we go. That's the basic idea of SpyGlass. You just create those boxes called deps, and you insert them instead of like a wall of providers, or instead of using a global container for your dependencies. And yeah, that's the basic premise. To just show you a couple of quick samples. Like it works in plain Dart. So there's like the simplest possible hello world. You can just put stuff inside the deps. It's a global variable, but that represents the global scope here. You can pull stuff out of it and use that stuff. There's also well, easy Flutter integration. It looks very original. It just looks like kind of like a wonky provider. It's you just use a deps provider widget, and it inserts a new scope for you. Then in the register list, you list out all your dependencies, and there you go. And you can use them kind of in a provider way, but it's a bit less reactive. Dependencies can also be like lazy, and they can also be disposable. So whatever is created in the deps provider, it stays in the deps provider, and it's just disposed when it's gone. So yeah, that's about how you would create lazy stuff and disposable. It kind of also looks like provider, eh? So yeah, there's a lot of inspiration from that. I would hate to become the provider guy, but it seems I kind of am becoming one. So yeah, let's go. Let's go. You can depend on other dependencies, kind of like proxy provider that no one uses. Well, I don't know. Like I haven't met too many people that use proxy provider because it's kind of complex. But yeah, it would add a lot of reactivity to our apps. And you can just like add another two callbacks. The when one like tells you, well, by using the when one, you can say when you want to react, and with the update one, you can, well, it's called whenever the thing that's specified in when changes, and then you can update the thing you need. So if you've got some immutable stuff, rather than things that objects that communicate between each other, you can use it. And there's some asynchronous stuff, so you can await things to get created. The create callback can be asynchronous. It's kind of like GetIt, but I kind of, well, didn't show it to you. So yeah, that's the GetIt influence here. You can also have, well, kind of, this one is original actually. So I've got one original idea, but I'm not sure if it's actually useful because I haven't found a use for it. It's just like came out by accident. So you can await a dependency that hasn't been created yet, that hasn't been registered yet. So if you know something's going to be added in the future, you can await it. And it's also got stuff like cycle dependency protection. And if you like have stuff that depend on each other in a cycle, then you get an early error instead of just your app working in a loop. So there's some quality of life stuff. Okay, and that's it about SpyGlass. Probably took longer than I should have. But yeah, let's go back to our original question. So actually, which one of the frameworks should we choose? So the obvious idea would be SpyGlass. All right, I'm joking. Yeah, it wasn't completely, so I could market that. Yeah, so I took some time to like to evaluate all of those options. Like I couldn't write an entire app with them because I kind of, yeah, that's the thing in the beginning, that I kind of didn't have enough time for that. Just not for this presentation, just at all. And I came to realize that I just look at the other packages because grass is always greener on the other side. So I want to use something that I know less about. Like I want to learn something new, but I also don't know as many weaknesses of the other packages that I know of the solution I'm currently using. And like the other important thing for me, at least, is to always consider your team. So it's easy to get hyped for something that you really want to use, but it's always important to consider the people who are going to have to adopt it. Maybe they have to be convinced to use it. Perhaps it's not. Perhaps the abstractions that the other package provides are not gonna click with your team. Like it's something that can always be worked around. But it's something to consider. And also, yeah, the thing at the start. So, yeah, and like a truism here. So what you know best will probably surprise you least. There are exceptions, but it's I think a good thumb rule to go about with. So yeah, at this slide, I'm probably gonna leave it. Like it's a very personal choice for everyone because it depends on your team. It depends on your like on kind of on your interests, on what technologies click with you. So yeah, there we go. I'm probably over time, so feel free to ask me questions or not. I don't know how much time we have. There's a QR code for the stuff I showed off, and yeah, and I'm getting probably dragged off the scene. So yeah, give us a star and stuff like that.
We're at least gonna have a couple questions. Okay, I see a hand.
Thanks a lot. I must say, you convinced me to try SpyGlass tomorrow morning because I actually hit the same issue as you mentioned in the beginning, which is because I'm using multi-repository provider that comes from Blog, which is essentially just a nested provider. I was hitting the issue of having like 20, 40 different widgets in a tree that would just, each of them would just provide the given service or repository. And if I understand correctly, and if you could just confirm this, does the library actually just create a single widget in a widget tree?
Yes, well, not exactly single. It creates two, or actually three. But it creates three per scope. So if you're using like this kind of default approach where you have 3 scopes, then you get 9 widgets total for your deepest point in the app. So that's pretty good considering like...
Yeah, that's definitely. So for instance, in my case, having 40 plus different dependencies in 2 scopes, one is global, the other is authenticated. I'm sometimes hitting a black frame. When you come back to the app, the first frame may take longer than frame rate of the app, and you essentially see a black frame. And I know that many people see that, but there's no really easy way. And my understanding is that this is the issue with the tree depth. If you have more than a couple of 100 widgets in a tree and they rely on different dependencies, this may happen.
I'm actually really glad to hear it resonates with you, but I'm actually curious because this black frame, I found it mostly I don't know, maybe this is the case, but I found a similar case when I had actually just too long initialization of my providers, like of the values provided by the providers.
Yeah, the constructors, for instance.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like, there's also issue with localization, but it's a different one. But it also can lead to a black frame.
Oh, I haven't heard about that, but I had issues with localization just not being updated because there were some like stale values passed around, but
yeah, anyway, cool idea, something that I've been needing for a long time, and first thing in the morning, probably just gonna try to convert all my repository providers to this one.
Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's probably gonna be like probably right now is like not really tested, not really well documented, but we're gonna be like, developing it over the next days. We'll see where it gets us. Thanks.
Any more questions?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Let's do that. There we
I'm with the microphone. Yeah, thanks. My question is, I know that GetIt also supports from version 5 the scopes, a different level of scopes. What's the difference of your solution with that one?
Yeah, so I've had actually quite quite some issues with GetIt scopes. So I'm sure you can make them work, but it's always like I had one slide actually that I actually deleted with the scopes. Like, sorry, you're gonna see. Oh shit, that's you shouldn't probably see that. So I don't know. Yeah. So actually, oh yeah, I've got it here. So in version history, like I had a couple of different versions that were supposed to be under 70 slides, but they were over. Sorry. So with GetIt, you always work with a single container. And where is it? No, it's final. It's very long. So wait, sorry. Let me find it because it's like over here. Yeah, I don't know if I can close it. Like I don't really use slides too much. So there we go. So it's something like that. So when you have GetIt, and well, you always probably use the single GetIt instance. There's an option to create more instances, but I haven't really found a good way to implement this so that stuff that is in the single GetIt instance gets. Well, I haven't found a decent solution to scoping with multiple GetIt instances, and with this GetIt solution to scoping, you can create scopes by pushing them like over the base scope, but this is still the same container, and it was like not enough for me because with that model of having like one scope per screen. There would be a lot of kind of conflicts because you would like this GetIt container is global, and if you push a scope, it's accessible for to everyone using this like this single GetIt instance. And so if you push like a product page scope, it would be like the current scope for the entire app, which is not too bad, but it's kind of, I don't know, didn't really click with me. I'm sure like this is a good way to, it's probably sufficient, but it's just something that doesn't really just work with me. I'm sorry, this is like kind of, I don't know, like kind of personal, and I can't find a good answer to that because like I also haven't had much luck with using those scopes. That's all that I can say for now. I would definitely give like a longer try to get it to get to know if it actually like works really well. So,
okay, another.
Would you like to add something? Okay, thank you.
Some other questions? Any hands? Okay, so thanks again to Tomek.
Sure, thanks.